Okay. Chapter 5 of Dilly Court. Let's go. Closely followed by Bootle, Barney emerged from the inner sanctum. Well, Miss Tilly True, this is an honor. What can I do for you? He was looking at her with an amused grin on his face, eyebrows slightly raised as he waited for her reply. Desperately seeking inspiration, Tilly glanced around the wainscoted office. Then, when she was beginning to think she might have to tell him the truth, she spotted a desk in one corner, and on it was a typewriting machine, similar to the one she had seen in the pawnbroker's shop. I come about a job, sir. Barney folded his arms across his chest, head, head on one side. You're looking for a position? I thought you were about to be employed by my brother. Can we speak in private? You can say anything in front of Boodle. He's my right hand man. Boodle's complexion darkened to a rosy blush and he made a clucking noise in his throat. Crossing her fingers behind her back, Tilly managed a smile. The Reverend can't take me on as yet owing to present circumstances, and I'm in need of a job and a place to stay. I'm a hard worker, Mr. Palgrave. Come into my office and we'll talk about it. Boodle will fetch us a tray of tea and some of Mrs. Bootle's ginger snaps. Nodding his head in Bootle's direction, Barney ushered Tilly into his office and held out a chair. Feeling like a proper lady, Tilly sat down and folded her hands on her lap. Making a space by shoving a pile of documents onto the floor, Barney perched on the edge of his desk. Well, now, Tilly, I'm afraid I'm not in a position to take on a housemaid. I live in bachelor rooms, and my landlord's wife does the cleaning after a fashion. The thought of a night huddled in a doorway, freezing to death in the snow, made any lie seem justified. Tilly looked Barney in the eye. I see you got one of them newfangled typewriting machines. I could be a lady typewriter and do all your business letters. At school, I was top of me class in spelling. You can use the typewriting machine? I'm impressed. Oh, yes, lied Tilly. Bro, you can say, fuck. Why do you keep lying? I, like survival mode and all of this shit is. I understand all that, but like, what's the use? Now you're gonna try to figure out how to typewrite. I mean, it's pretty easy, I guess. Tuck, 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 ting. I mean, sure. But what about the spacing? I mean, that's not set, I think. You just have to roll the paper a little bit. I am not sure exactly. I've seen it, but I don't think it stops automatically. Or does it? It might have a stopper because the typewritten letters that I have seen do have proper spacing between two lines. Nah, I don't know. Let's see. She lied again. I mean, usual, as usual. Oh, yes, lied Tilly, the untruth stripping off her tongue. My previous employer, Mr. Stanley, blessed of blesseds, second-hand furniture emporium, Wharf Road, Islington, he could vouch for me. I typed all his business letters for him. You did? And I suppose he would give you a glowing reference? Yes, sir. Mr. Blessed and me were like that. Tilly held up her crossed fingers, hoping that she would not be struck down for such an out and out lie. She waited for a thunderbolt to strike, but nothing happened. Perhaps God was in a forgiving mood, or maybe He just didn't intend her to spend night out in the cold. Cocking her head on one side, she assumed what she hoped was an innocent expression. There was a clatter of teacups and a tap on the door from very low down, suggesting that suggesting that Boodle was using the toe of his highly. Acha, oh, I really thought he knocked, but it was like a very. Sorry. Sorry. Short Kings. Sorry about that. I mean, there is a Mrs. Boodle, so he's doing well. Okay, cock. suggesting that Boodle was using the toe of his highly polished shoe. Barney raised himself to open the door. Boodle, Miss True has a proposition for us. Has she indeed, sir? Boodle carried the tea tray to the desk and set it down, beaming at Tilly. And what would that be, miss? Miss True says she's a typewriter. She's offering to use the infernal machine to do our correspondence. What do you think, Boodle? He poured tea into a china cup and handed it to Tilly. Milk and sugar, miss? Tilly nodded, holding her breath and waiting for his answer while he added milk and sugar to her tea. It sounds ideal, Mr. Barney. I take it you want me to make the suggestion to himself? If you would, Boodle. Himself is more likely to take the suggestion kindly from you. Himself? His brother? Wait, what? Exactly so, Mr. Barney. Winking at Tilly, Bootle rolled out of the office, closing the door behind him. Remembering Ma's lessons in manners, Tilly curbed a desire to dip the hot tea into the saucer, cooking her little finger and sipped from the cup. Crooked her little finger and sipped from the cup, eyeing Barney over the rim. She was dying to ask who himself was and why Barney had sent Boodle to do the necessary, but she didn't trust herself to speak. Seeming to sense her curiosity, Barney ran his hand through his thick black hair and grinned. Mr. Jardine is the senior partner, the very senior partner. It would be easier to get an audience with God than with Mr. Jardine. Only Bootle or Bragg can get through the door into the hallowed ground of Mr. Jardine's office. Your fate hangs in the balance, my dear Miss True. Do have a ginger snap. They are utterly scrumptious. Nibbling in a ladylike fashion, Tilly realized that Barney had not exaggerated. Mrs. Bootle's ginger snaps were very tasty, so tasty that before she knew it, Tilly had demolished the whole plateful. She realized that Barney was watching her with some amusement. I was hungry, she said, dabbing her lips with a linen table napkin that Bootle had thoughtfully provided. Tell me, Tilly, why do you need a place to stay so urgently? You must have a home somewhere, surely. Another lie now. Look at this. I am an orphan, sir, and that's the truth. God damn. And that's the truth. My whole family was drowned when the Princess Alice went down in Galleon's Reach after a day trip to Sheerness. Drowned they was, me mum and dad and all me brothers and sisters, all sucked down in the outfall from the sewage works. 750 souls was lost that day. And you swam to safety all on your own? Quite a feat considering you couldn't have been much more than a few weeks old when the Princess Alice sank in 1878. Fucking idiot, why, dude? Now she's gonna say, no, I was being babysitted somewhere. Okay. Tilly choked on a crumb of ginger snap and hastily gulped down a mouthful of tea. She had heard tales of the dreadful tragedy, but she had not the slightest idea of the exact date. Improvising, she sighed heavily. I was sick with the crew and had been left with me gran. She passed away last year, God rest her soul. Flinging back his head, Barney roared with laughter. I like you, Tilly. You're a big liar than I am. I admire that. Now, tell me the truth. Tilly opened her mouth to argue, but Bootle stuck his head round the door, his face wreathed in smiles. Himself says it's all right. He says he didn't allow the purchase of an expensive piece of equipment just so that it could gather dust. Excellent. Barney held out his hand to Tilly. Welcome to the firm, Tilly True. Getting to her feet, Tilly shook his hand. Thank you, sir. Barney slipped his arm around her shoulders. Round her shoulders. Bootle, Miss True needs to find some lodgings urgently. Can you help? Mrs. Boodle sometimes takes in a paying guest to help out with household expenses. I'm sure she'd be happy to accommodate Miss Tilly. Good, that's settled. Barney gave Tilly a gentle push in Boodle's direction. Off you go then, and I'll see you at 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. Shrugging on his overcoat, he plucked his top hat off the coat stand. Boodle frowned. Are you finished for today, Mr. Barney? I'm going to my club, Boodle. If himself wants to know where I am, tell him I'm gone to see a client. Tipping his hat at Tilly, Barney left the office whistling. Does he do much work around here? Tilly asked. With a smile and an expressive shrug of his shoulders, Boodle pointed to the vacant desk. Why don't you have a little practice on the machine, miss? It'll pass the time until 6 o'clock. Then I'll take you home to my good lady. Okay. Sitting down at the typewriting machine, Tilly chewed her lip, wishing she had offered to do anything other than this. How the blooming thing worked, she had not the slightest idea. I believe, said Bootle, taking a sheet of white quarto paper from a drawer, that the paper goes in like this. He released the platen and slipped the paper behind it, pushed back the lever, and turned the knurled knob that fed the paper to the correct position. I saw a demonstration once, but I expect this is a different model to the one you're used to, Miss Tilly. Oh, that's so fucking lucky, dude. Like, this is the problem I have with MCs, dude. Everything works out well for them. Why? Suffer more. Feminists must suffer. Should suffer. Definitely should. That's my humble opinion. Sorry, but yes, that's what I think. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Thank you, Mr. Boodle. Just Boodle, miss. Just Boodle. The snow was falling again as Tilly and Boodle left the office in Hayward. Swansdown flakes floated from the black velvet sky, and the greenish-yellow gas lights cast a ghostly sheen, flickering and dancing like glowworms trapped inside glass bottles. It's not far to Pook's buildings, Boodle said, his breath puffing out in clouds of steam. Just across Chancery Lane, and we're there. It might not be far, Tilly thought, slipping and sliding on the icy pavements, but she would be very glad when they got there. Her fingers and toes were numb with cold, and the thin shawl was no protection against the bitter night. Dodging in and out between horse-drawn carts and drays, Bootle led the way across the busy thoroughfare of Chancery Lane and turned into a narrow side of street. The buildings were crammed together higgledy-piggledy, as if a child had upturned a box of wooden bricks and they had lost where they had fallen. In the middle of this architectural chaos, Pook's building stood 5 stories high, blackened bricks that might once have been red, imprisoned behind rusting iron railings. Bootle climbed the stone steps to the front door and went inside. Tilly followed him into the long, narrow hallway and saw a flight of uncarpeted stairs rising straight ahead of them. If the Palgraves lodgings in Burnbury Fields were shabby, then this multiple occupancy house was positively dilapidated. What is that? A gas mantle on each landing provided the only source of light, hissing, popping, and casting weird shadows on the walls as they went up the stairs. The odor of coal gas mingled with cooking smells, none of which was appetizing. From behind closed doors, Tilly could hear the sound of raised voices, children screaming, babies crying, and somewhere at the top of the building, a woman was singing in a high-pitched soprano, while a musician of sorts scraped at a fiddle. Home sweet home, Bootle said cheerfully as he opened a door on the 3rd floor and was greeted by shouts and cries of delight as a multitude of children hurtled across the floor, flinging themselves at him. All Tilly could see of Bootle was his curly-brimmed bowler hat and the red tip of his nose. Laughing and kissing upturned faces, he peeled the children off and set them on the floor, patting heads as if they were a pack of eager foxhounds. "Manners, Bootle children. We have a visitor." Bootle held his hand out to Tilly. "Come in, Miss Tilly. Come in and meet my family." Hesitating on the threshold, blinking in the comparatively bright light, Tilly felt her cheeks tingle painfully in the heat of the room. "Hello," she ventured, stepping over a rag doll and a pile of wooden bricks. "I'm pleased to meet you all." Standing by the range, stirring a huge black saucepan full of something that smelled temptingly like mutton stew, Mrs. Bootle turned her head and beamed at her husband. "You're nice and early, Nat. And who is this?" "Susan, my dear, this is Miss True," Bootle said, handing his hat to the biggest boy and hurrying over to kiss his wife's cheek. "Miss Tilly has just started work as a typewriter at the office, and she is in need of lodgings." Thrusting the wooden pan into Bootle's hand, Susan's plump features crumpled into a frown. Oh, Nat, you should have given me a bit of notice. But never mind, it's done now. With her frown melting into a smile, she waddled across the floor, extending her hand to Tilly. We usually take in commercial gentlemen, Miss Tilly, but if you ain't too particular as to space, then I'm sure we can make you comfortable. I ain't too particular about nothing, Mrs. Bootle. I'm grateful for a warm bed and a hot meal. That's settled then. Susan clapped her hands round the table, Boodle children. Too sweet. You too, Miss Tilly. Make yourself at home. Handing back the spoon as if it were a baton. Is it baton or baton? I don't know. I think I've heard English speakers say baton. I might be wrong. What is it? I'm gonna say baton for the moment. Baton sounds wrong. I don't know. Handing back the spoon as if it were a baton in a relay race, Bootle smiled proudly at his wife as she took charge of the stew and began ladling into small pudding basins. She's a pearl, Bootle said, swatting off children and holding out a chair for Tilly. A real gem is my Susan. Educated too. Speaks French like a native, as you just heard. I'm still puzzled why such a jewel married a man like myself. Don't talk soft, Bootle. Chuckling and blushing, Susan handed him two pudding basins filled to overflowing with stew. Serve Miss Tilly first, and you mind your manners, Bootle children. Sitting down at the table, Tilly did a quick head count and realized that there were only 6 children present, although there had seemed at least double that number when they were jumping around, tumbling over each other and shrieking. This is the late 6, Bootle said, handing out bowls and casual cuffs around the head to the boys who counted to chatter. A bonus, you might say. A bonus, you might say. There are more kids. I mean, more power to you, Bootle. 6 kids. Awesome. 6 kids. Very good. Very good. Mrs. Bootle going the family way. Tilly should learn from her. And from Mr. Bootle and Mrs. Bootle. Learn why having a family is so fucking fine. Because, okay, you might say, oh, 6 kids, so much money is going to be spent on them. Oh, 6 kids, have to send all these 6 kids to school and then to college and all this shit. Okay, sure. And then what comes after that? What comes after that? Oh, 6 sources of income as well. Nice, huh? Nobody fucking thinks about that. Oh no, the kids are gonna fucking leave me. Yeah, they're gonna leave you if you're a bitch. Don't be a bitch. Sorry. Don't be a fucking bitch. That's it. Instill proper values into your children so that they take care of you when you're in your old age. That's it. It's not that hard. And obviously you gotta have some savings for yourself as well, but it's like you gotta take care of them till what age? 18, 20, and then they're just off into the real world. That's it. It's a good life, and I need a good amount of evidence from the black pillars, I think, who don't want to start a family in this big bad world. But I'd say ki in this big bad world, although I do agree on that point, wouldn't it be nicer to have more people around you who will support you in the struggle of this big bad world? I mean, community is very important, bro. And it's like the family is like the main, like the smallest part of the community. And if you're not contributing to the community by having more people come into the community, then that's like, are you really part of the community? Like, you sure you're doing some philanthropic stuff and all this shit, but is it even worth it if that philanthropy is going to die when you do? Is it? I would say ki don't be philanthropic and just fucking have kids rather than being philanthropic and be fucking alone, childless. That's stupid. I'd like to see this feminist change at least. At least she should fucking learn from them. A bonus, you might say. Oh, Bootle, don't tease. Susan sat down and began hacking slices off a loaf, dealing them out to the children. What Nat means is that our five eldest is out in the world now. 11 kids. Bro. Bro. 11. That's the dream, brother. That's the dream. Damn. Just imagine 11 kids. God damn. That's superb, bro. So good. I love it. I love it. Oh. What that means is that our five eldest is out in the world now. The boys apprenticed to respectable trades, and the one girl, our Ethel, in service up west. You must be very proud, Tilly said, not knowing quite what else to say. Proud? I should just say so. Bootle puffed out his chest and beamed at the curly blonde heads bent over their soup bowls. Just when we thought our duty done, then the Lord saw fit to send us 6 more little Bootles to keep us company. I love this. The Lord saw fit to send us 6 more. I love it. I love it. It's like the perfect sentence. To keep us poor, you mean? Susan said, laughing. Eat up, all of you, and then I can show Miss Tilly her room. To keep us poor? Sure. Yeah, I understand this point. But now, 4 sons are gonna send some money back home, right? I mean, like in an ideal world, obviously. There might be the case where only Mr. Bootle is earning in this scenario, but I'm saying ki you have what, 16 to 20 years to raise your kids in the correct way, and if you fuck that up, that's on you. If you don't instill the value of family into their hearts, then you are the failure, not them. They're not the failures. If you protected and provided for them and loved them for 18 fucking years, and then they start earning and providing value in the real world, and then they come back and say, oh, I didn't ask you to fucking protect and provide me for these 18 years. I don't owe you nothing. I don't owe you anything. And you're the failure there as a parent. They must know that when you get something, you have to give something back as well. Definitely. Why does that happen though? Because they never realize that what they're getting is a privilege. A family, food on the table, a roof over their head, a bed to sleep in, and all that. Everything is a privilege. Electricity, like not as per this book, but for our case, that's all a privilege. Education is a privilege. Everything's a fucking privilege, but you don't understand that because either you're not aware of your parents' struggles, or you feel like you're entitled to it to a degree. Because, of course, they're my parents, they have to do their duty. They really don't, actually. I mean, could have fucking sent you to an orphanage or something. Yeah. Loving your child is a duty. No, it's not. It's really not. It's actually not at all. It's a privilege. Most people don't get it. That's why they fucking leave their parents in old age homes and shit. But Also, there is the other side of the story where the parents were fucking assholes as well. So, sure, I mean, they're still paying for their parents. But I feel, okay, you're going to go out into the world and get married to someone, and then you're gonna have kids with them. One option is your wife stays at home and looks after the kids. That's one. And the other option is you have your parents at home who can help out with those kids. I mean, which is better? What do you think? The room turned out to be little more than a linen cupboard. Oh, that's too small. The slatted shelves had all been removed except the one at the bottom, and this had been turned into a makeshift bed with a flock-filled mattress and a feather pillow. It's a bit on the cozy side, I grant you, Susan said, shuffling out of the cupboard so that Tilly could just about squeeze inside. But it's clean and warm. I ain't never had no complaints from the gents. Compared to Bert's coal cellar or a snow-covered pavement, it was a palace. But Tilly couldn't help wondering how the commercial gentlemen had managed to fold themselves up small enough to get all of their bodies into a space that could not have been more than 4 feet in length. Oh, 4 feet. How tall is she? 5 feet or something? She would either have to curl up in a ball or have legs sticking out of the doorway. I'll fetch you some blankets then. Susan hesitated, lowering her voice. Just one thing though, you might find the nippers a bit of a trial on Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday mornings. Why so, Mrs. Bootle? Susan blushed from the roots of her mouse brown hair to the folds of chin that obscured her neck. Mr. Bootle likes his conjugals on them days. Regular. Conjugals? What the? Is she talking about sex? Wait. Mr. Bootle likes his conjugals on them days, regular as clockwork. The nippers knows they must not interrupt the conjugals, so they're inclined to become a bit frisky, if you know what I mean. No harm in them, they're just high-spirited. We ain't never had a young lady staying, and, in my experience, gents can sleep through anything. So I thought I'd better warn you. Is she talking about sex? What are conjugals? I don't know and I can't search because I'm using the phone for this. Okay. Is she talking about sex? Thank you. Momentarily lost for words, Tilly tried not to picture the scene of Mr. and Mrs. Bootle in their conjugals. Two jam roly-polies bouncing about on the bed. Yeah, she means sex. I got brothers and sisters of me own, so I'm used to young uns and their pranks. Okay. Wait, 1 second. Where is it? Monday, Wednesday, Sunday. Like 3 times a week. I mean, it's not a sexless marriage, so. Yeah, like, I like that. After a month of living with the Bootle family, Tilly had grown used to fending off the Bootle children 3 mornings a week when their energetic parents enjoyed their conjugals. She had not quite managed to put names to faces. It's been a month. You don't know their names yet? As they were so much alike as to be indistinguishable one from the other. Oh, there might be twins and twins and is it twins? Okay, I don't know. Let's see. Constantly on the move, they rarely stayed still long enough for the difference in their sizes to help with the identification. There were, Tilly discovered, 2 girls and 4 boys, but as they were all very much alike and had baby blue eyes and blonde curls, she soon adopted their parents' habit of referring to them as a group. Okay. Life was not exactly comfortable in the Bootle's cramped apartment, but it was bearable, and Tilly had become accustomed to eating mutton stew 6 nights a week with a boiled bullock's head and turnips on a Sunday to relieve the monotony. She had grown used to getting up early each morning and going down 3 flights of stairs to the privy in the backyard, and breaking through a layer of ice in a bucket of water to wash her hands and face. Once a week she walked 2 miles to the public baths, taking with her a coarse huckleback towel and a small nugget of Calvert's carbolic soap. With only the clothes that she stood up in, Tilly had to wash her cotton blouse and chemise before retiring to her cupboard, leaving them draped over a clothes horse by the fire. Saving what was left from her wages after paying her rent to Susan, Tilly hoarded the coins in a paper bag, tucking it under the mattress in her cupboard. When she had saved enough, she planned to buy some new clothes in Petticoat Lane and to brave a visit to Red Dragon Passage. Home was never far from her thoughts, and every night in her prayers, she asked God to keep an eye on Winnie, Lizzie, Jim, and Dan, and to make Pops better. Each morning, when she left Book's buildings to make the short walk to Hay Yard, Tilly would follow Bootle, glancing nervously over her shoulder every time she heard the rumble of cartwheels and the clip-clopping of horses' hoofs, fearing it might be Bert. Then common sense would assert itself. London was a big city, and it would be a stroke of bad luck if their paths should cross purely by chance. Perhaps Bert had forgotten all about her or had found another victim to terrorize. Tilly put all thoughts of the Tuffins out of her head and concentrated on learning to be a typewriter. But it was far from easy. From early morning until evening, she sat in her dark corner of the office, trying hard to master the machine. Although she had learned her alphabet parrot fashion at school, it was little or, it was little or no help. The keys of the typewriting machine having been arranged in a seemingly illogical fashion. The QWERTY keypad thing. Is it? Then the typewriters as well, I'm not sure. Even when she found the correct letter, her fingers were stiff and she kept hitting the wrong keys. And you can't delete it. I think this strike through option is there, I think, but yeah, you can't erase it at least. Bootle had shown her how to set out a business letter, and all she had to do then was to transpose his neat copperplate into type. But she found that was easier said than done. Hunched over the typewriting machine and using just two fingers, Tilly peered at the handwritten letter material and then at the keyboard, searching for the right key and jabbing at it with cold sweat trickling down between her shoulder blades. The words were unfamiliar, and she made so many mistakes that she wasted many sheets of expensive headed paper. Bootle was kind and endlessly patient, but the other clerks in the law firm were not. Notably Jenks, a tight-lipped, acid-faced streak of a man who was Mr. Clarence Palgrave's clerk. On her first day, Tilly discovered that the Palgrave in Palgrave, Jardine and Bolt was not Barney, but his uncle Clarence Palgrave, QC. QC? What is QC? Barney was just a junior barrister, and his easygoing attitude to his work was only tolerated because of his relationship to Mr. Clarence. So Bootle confided in an unguarded moment after a heated discussion with Bragg that had left him flushed and out of temper. Bragg was clerk to himself, the legendary Mr. Jardine, who only dealt with the most important cases and was only ever seen from behind, disappearing towards the law courts in a flurry of black robes topped with snowy white wig. Bragg treated Tilly as though she were a nasty smell beneath his supercilious nose, directing his remarks to Bootle and making it plain that he considered Tilly's employment in the law firm would not be a long one. With vitriol dripping off his tongue, Jenks never lost an opportunity to show how much he disapproved of having a young female working in the office, let alone one who was so patently useless that she was unworthy of being paid, even in brass washers. Bootle listened politely to his complaints, smiled and nodded, and somehow, with a talent that was all his own, he managed to change the subject, usually by throwing in a query about a particular court case. Tilly kept quiet in her corner, stabbing at the keys with her forefinger and pretending she was jabbing it into part of Jenks's body that would cause him the most pain. She was trying her hardest, but Jenks grumbled. One sec. But Jenks grumbled about the amount of paper she had wasted and the time it took her to type out even the shortest letter. Passing by her desk, he would bump her chair so that she made a mistake, or he would send her work flying to the floor without a word of apology. Tilly began to hate Jenks almost as much as she hated Bert Tuffin, but his antagonism made her even more determined to master the machine and become a proficient typewriter, if only to spite him. Okay, I mean, that's good, I guess. In the first few weeks, she saw little of Barney. Uh, in the first few weeks, she saw little of Barney. Her position in the firm being lowly, she was not allowed to venture into his office uninvited, although he always greeted her with a cheery nod and a wink. Tilly couldn't help noticing that the female clients had a preference for Barney, and judging by the sounds of merriment coming from behind the closed door, she guessed that he was more than sympathetic to their troubles. More than sympathetic, yeah. Well dressed, well heeled ladies, some of them Tilly suspected were not quite respectable, came to consult Barney. One day, curiosity got the better of her after Bootle had shown a woman of a certain age with suspiciously red hair and flashy clothes into Barney's office. Who was that? Bootle perched on his stool, peering at her over the top of the spectacles. Just a client. What sort of client? Bootle smiled vaguely. A wealthy one. Miss Tilly, we don't ask questions, we just do our jobs. She didn't look like a criminal. The lady runs a certain type of house that gentlemen who have not the advantage of a happy relationship with a wonderful woman like Mrs. Bootle might want to visit, if you get my meaning. Okay, whorehouse. You mean a knocking shop? I guess. Bootle wins. That's not a nice word for a young person to know, Miss Tilly. Mr. Bootle, I come from Whitechapel. I ain't one of your well brought up young ladies. I know what's what. Polishing his spectacles on his handkerchief, Bootle went quite pink. I should keep quiet about if I were you, especially when Mr. Jenks or Mr. Bragg might be within earshot. I'm not daft, Mr. Bootle, but I'd still like to know why these ladies want to see Mr. Barney. A brush with the law in the matter of illegal. I'm not daft, Mr. Sorry. A brush with the law in the matter of illegal goings on or obtaining evidence in a divorce case. The more senior partners in the law firms might not be too eager to take on these cases. Best say no more on the subject. Tapping the side of his nose, Bootle put on his spectacles and picked up his pen. Sighing, Tilly went back to the painstaking task of typing with two fingers. So Barney took on clients that no one else wanted. She was hardly surprised but she did look up when the door opened and Barney ushered his client out of the office. I'll leave the matter in your hands, Mr. Palgrave, dear. Trust me, Mrs. Jameson. Oh, I do, dear. Mrs. Jameson raised her gloved hand to touch Barney's cheeks. Thousands wouldn't. Trilling with laughter, she stood back while Barney opened the outer door. With a cheerful wave to Bootle and a saucy wink, Mrs. Jameson left the office. Tilly and Bootle exchanged glances as they listened to the receding footsteps, and Mrs. Jameson's high-pitched laughter growing fainter until the front door closed behind her. Barney returned with a satisfied grin on his face and headed towards his office. Shall I send for pictures, sir? Yes, Bootle, of course. Right away, please. As the door closed on Barney, Tilly shot a curious glance at Bootle as he slid off his stool. Who is Pitcher? Whether he heard her or not, Bootle did not answer. Okay. Minutes later, Pitcher arrived, the smell of unwashed body and the stables preceding him. Wrinkling her nose, Tilly watched him stride through the office, dripping a trail of mud and straw off his boots onto the brown linoleum. She couldn't see much of his face beneath the felt hat pulled low down over his brow, but he did not appear to have shaved for a week at least. He could have been a stableman, a crossing sweeper, or a rag and bone man, but whatever his occupation, he went into Barney's office without knocking and closed the door behind him. Don't ask, Bootle said, bending his head over the document on his desk. You don't need to know. Okay. Pitcher left in the same manner as he had arrived, passing Jenks in the doorway with a surly grunt. So he's back, Jenks said, curling his lip. I'll have to inform Mr. Clarence, Bootle. You know them about don't help with the type of cases Mr. Barney does. Takes on. Mr. Barney takes on. You should do something about it. Bootle shrugged and got on with his work. Seemingly frustrated, Jenks sidled over to Tilly's desk. You're rubbish, my girl. A child of 5 could do better. Biting her lip, Tilly tried to ignore him. Pay attention when I speak to you, miss. Prodding her in the back, Jenks ripped the paper out of the typewriting machine. Here, give it to me. Give it me. Jumping to her feet, Tilly made a grab at the paper, but Jenks was head and shoulders taller than she, and he held the piece of paper high above her head, sneering. Not likely. This is evidence, and it's going straight to Mr. Clarence. It's been a month, bro. What are you doing? Why aren't you competent enough to compete with the men in the organization? Huh? Independent feminist, right? What's wrong? Not capable enough? Sad. Quite sad. I don't feel sad for you, but it's quite sad. Okay. What have you got against me, Mr. Jenks? I ain't done nothing to you. I don't hold with women taking a man's job. Uh, I don't mind women in the workplace. I just mind feminists in the workplace. I mean, okay, let's also say this. Who are feminists when it can benefit them, but when true equality comes into picture, that you will be treated the same as men, like if a guy fucks up, he'll get scolded, but if you fuck up, you want to be treated like a lady. No, you're a feminist, so you should be treated the same way a man is being treated. Those are the kind of people I don't want in the workplace. Sorry. Nah. If I had, if I ever had an organization, or if I ever start a company, I'd employ, it will only be, it'll, majority will be men only environment. I don't want females in the environment because, firstly, uh, they won't be working as much as men do, so that's one reason. Second would be they won't be able to handle stress as much because, like, if you're a feminine woman, like, you don't want that level of stress, and you won't, like, also it makes you masculine, so I feel it's counterproductive, counterintuitive for a woman to be in a masculine environment. It's unnecessary, I feel. And also, I won't employ gay men. Also, one more reason for not employing females would be they will be a distraction to the men. Now, let's say if it's a men only environment, they don't have a pair of tits and ass walking here and there, distracting them, basically. Like, they're not thinking about fucking someone while they're working, so they can actually concentrate on the work. That's one of the main reasons, actually. And I'm not saying that a woman is just a pair of tits and ass, but from a man's perspective, it usually is. We are visual creatures. What can I say? Like, okay, forming a great work relationship can be good, but then there's what, harassment issues, like verbal harassment and all this shit. Why would I want, like, why would I want to spend money on human resources? Why? Like, human resources are for females, right? Mostly. So that's like an unnecessary department, I feel. Like, okay, those are the main reasons for not employing females. And then for gay men, they will fucking distract the other men, I feel, like trying to turn them gay as well. Also, yeah, it's a waste of time, basically. Obviously, straight men would not be involved, would not be attracted and shit, but still, it's an unnecessary component. Like, why would I want to waste time there? But if, like, I'm not completely opposed to employing them, but still, And if I had to choose between a straight guy and a gay guy to employ, I'd rather choose a straight guy. And among straight guys, guys with a family would rank higher. Like if they have the same level of competency, then the family guy will rank higher than the single guy, because they have more to lose basically. A single guy would just not stay as loyal to the company as a married man, because he has a family to take care of, mouths to feed, and all that. People depending on him basically. So yeah, married men, or like, I understand the institution of marriage is also becoming like fucked up because divorce, you earn more money and the chances of divorce go higher. I understand all that. So a family guy, a guy with a family, basically a family man. So he may not be married, but at least if he has kids and a partner or a woman in his life, then it's fine for me. So family man. Second would be a single man, and it's all based on competency as well. Obviously, if a single guy is more competent than a family guy, sure, a single guy would be employed before I employ a single guy. Oh shit, where the fuck was I? God damn. I don't hold with women taking, but then there are also jobs that only women can do. Like I listened to Jay Waller, Justin Waller. He was saying कि when for negotiations, when you want to negotiate with a man, and you go and just ask him to like uh, like do his work better or do something for you and all this shit, even as a boss, it becomes a dick measuring contest between the two men. But if a woman asks a man to do a job, it's different. It's like, oh okay, I'll do it for you kind of a deal. Huh. So okay, I do see the profit, but then again, I also see this, that you have this biological clock as well, right? So it's better for you to have kids when you can, let them join the workforce as well, and then you come into the workforce when like you have nothing else to do basically. You have no kids at home and you can't have more kids anyway, so you join your husband's company, or work under him as an assistant, or whatever you want to do, or look for something else to do, start your own business and whatnot after the kids have moved out of the house basically. You might say that's so late in life, and like, but we're not depending on the income of the female. We're not asking her to take on a burden. We're just letting her enjoy life and letting her have something to do to pass the time. It's not going to be stressful. Why like, let's say in future, as a husband, why would I want my wife to suffer, to be in a stressful situation? How does that help me? I don't understand that. And that's what feminists don't understand either. It's like, you're not going to be happy. It's a stressful environment. Here's one option where the guy is going to work and take all the stress and provide for you while you can stay at home. That's one option. And the other option is you work, take on all the stress, and have no one except cats. I mean, is doesn't this look better? This option looks better, doesn't it? I don't understand how feminists don't see that. Yeah, I understand that's like they see that as becoming a slave, but why would I care about the happiness of a slave? As a husband, I do care about the happiness of my wife, right? Why would I care about the happiness of a slave, a servant? I have to think more about this, how to like convince a feminist, but this this because the main concern they have is the husband will have, if I don't do a job, if I don't work for myself, I don't have any finance, like I can't financially support myself, and then there are restraints of finances put on me by my husband. So he has complete financial control, and I can't go away even if I wanted to. That's the main thing. The financial constraint. What is that called? Financial abuse. Yeah. Bullshit. There's no such thing, by the way. Financial abuse, emotional abuse. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. What the fuck? It's like saying online abuse is a thing. No, it's not. You just log out. That's it. You turn off your phone. What are they gonna do? Or call you a bitch online? Yeah. And what? What else can they do? Anyhow, physical abuse is the only kind of abuse. Come on. Even I might take emotional abuse also a little bit into consideration, but it's not. It wouldn't be given as much importance, because it's like, yeah, okay, he called me a bitch. It hurt a lot, but does that make me a bitch? If you fucking hit me in the face, I get hurt physically, and that affects me. I can understand that kind of abuse, but you calling me a bitch doesn't necessarily make me a bitch. If I was a bitch, then calling me a bitch actually affects me, because oh shit, yeah, I'm a bitch, aren't I? Like, yeah, that kind of affects me, but isn't that good? Calling me out on my actions? If I'm unnecessarily being called a bitch for no reason, with no proof that I'm acting like a bitch, then why am I affected? Like, there's one video I've seen. If you call me a blue-haired fool, a blue-haired stupid idiot, that wouldn't affect me because I don't have blue hair. Then why would it affect me if I was not a bitch? It would only affect me if I was a bitch and they called me a bitch. Or like, to a certain degree I was a bitch. You know? So I think it's good. Obviously, moderation is key. You can't have too much of it as well, but like constantly fucking cussing and cursing and all. Okay, I can get that. And also, cursing at children would be obviously wrong. Yeah, I understand all that. But it's like, crying for no reason is just You're getting slapped across the face and you crying makes sense. It does make sense, right? Your fucking tooth falls out, you cry, it makes sense. You get a black eye, you cry, it makes sense. I can understand that. Not that it should happen, but I'm saying I can understand it. But he called me a whore. Yeah, and are you a whore? You're not? Okay. Then why you crying? Oh, you are a whore? Why are you a whore then? Stop being a whore. You've got to make a better case of emotional abuse towards me. I don't believe in that. Financial abuse. Now, that financial control, the only reasoning I can give you about that is like, okay, not every guy is fucking perfect, obviously, but generally, men do think more logically. We don't have those hormonal fucking changes every month, you know. So, hormonal imbalances like that. But so we'd make the decision that's what's the best for the family. And like, if you want to fucking spend on shit that's not fucking useful and then call it financial abuse, that's stupid, that's lame. You do not need that fucking designer bag. We need fucking food every day for the family. That's what's more important. Or he didn't take me to this fucking vacation, expensive as a vacation. Yeah, because there's the kids' education, that's which was more important. Like, there are nuances to it, and I think you have to look at it case by case. I feel, because wants and needs, these are the only two main aspects when it comes to fucking financial needs, financial usage, financial expenditure, basically expenditure. Wants and needs. Wants will be what? Food, clothing, shelter, all of that shit, and then some extra shit, some bills, whatever, electricity bill, whatnot, Wi-Fi bill, rent, whatever. Then there's fucking those are the needs. Did I say wants? Those are the needs. Definitely, you need them to for your survival. Yes, you need them. You need those. Education, you need. Okay, sure, sure, sure. Needs, and then there are wants. You don't need a vacation like every month. In a while, it's okay. So you can consider that as a need when it's like done in moderation, I guess. Obviously, you can't have a monotonous life, right? Yeah, definitely not. Sure, you need to have like something special once in a while. Sure, but oh no, every month we have to go somewhere. Nah, we don't. Nah, we don't need that. You might be wanting that, but we don't need that. So I'm not saying that men are the best. All men are the best at it. Sometimes even women might be better than their husbands at making financial decisions. Okay, the fucking husband wants a fucking Xbox and a PS5. Okay, do you have sufficient funds for that? Like sufficient extra funds for that? If not, then that's really not necessary. You have to time it right. No, but I need it. No, you want it. You kind of want it. So you don't need it actually. You can survive without it. Oh no, my happiness is also important. Is it? Why are you doing me? You have to think about the family before you. That's the main thing. When you start a family, it's about the family before your own fucking wants. And most men understand it. That's the thing. That's the main problem. Most men understand that. Most women don't, because traditionalism is decreasing. At least in the West, it is, and I am definitely seeing this in my country as well. It has started, definitely, because we do westernize. We do have a lot of Western influence, so we can learn a lot of good shit from them, but also a lot of bad shit. Hookup culture, definitely bad. But it's like Feminism is bad, but here it's like, no, we're fighting for equality. What equality, bro? What equality? Something like the Me Too movement. Like, it's all bad, bro. One accusation can fuck up a guy's life. It's like, just imagine, bro. Just one accusation. It's fucked up. Divorce, 50% gone. Fucked up. It's all fucked up. Why are we learning all this shit from there? You have to chase your own happiness. Go divorce your husband. What the fuck? Who is telling you all this? Other divorced females who want to marry your man? Yeah. The only two people who can, then there's only one kind of person that can give you a good advice when it comes to relationships. The one who is out of the race. And there are two subtypes under this. One of them is who has already won the race, that means who has already found a husband and has a family and has kids. She has won the race already. Okay, she's found a good husband and has kids with him. Done. She has won the race. And the other one is who has either lost the race or has been disqualified from the race. Like, who is not wanted right now. The ones who are like 40, 45 plus, not married, childless, single, home with cats, those women who have already accepted that they're out of the race as well. Because some like in the western scenario, I'm saying western countries, where there are women who still date around at that age, like fucking lame as fuck. But there someone who's out of the race, that is like, okay, I know I fucked up in my 20s and I don't have any family now and I'm gonna stay alone forever and I have to be okay with that. I accept it now. Those kind of people. These two people will be able to give you good advice on relationships. The first woman who won the race will tell you how to win the race, because by you winning the race, she's not losing anything. I mean, she's not going to lose her husband. She knows how to keep her husband. She has a good family. But now she can also want you to succeed, because there's no loss in that. It's only going to be good if there's more traditional women for this traditional woman, because her kids will have the opportunity to make friends with other kids that have come up in a traditional home. You know, if there's more fucking feminists around, then her own kids won't have other good kids to be around. So there's a vested interest in there somewhere, but either way, there's no loss. Okay, there's no loss for the winner. Now for the loser, or the one who was disqualified from the race, she also has a vested interest in your success. Like, because although she lost the race, at least she knows how to lose the race. Okay, now you don't know that, you haven't lived her life. Now by having the knowledge of her experience, if you make the right decisions in life, that will make her experience valuable. That will give value to her life. At least if she did not have kids of her own, her mistakes led women to have kids of their own who were not going to have them. So in a way, she brought kids into the world indirectly. So her experience becomes valuable. And we all want our experiences, our lives to be meaningful. Yes, it gives meaning to her loser life. Personally, she lost, definitely, 100%. But indirectly, she was able to fucking convince a lot of feminists to become traditional. And that's good. That gives meaning to her. So those are the only two people who can fucking give you good advice. But most of the Western society, mostly women, only listen. These girls who are in their 20s only listen to women who are also part of the race, like the women in their 30s who want to marry, who want to marry guys that are in the dating market or whatnot, who they want to get married, they want to have kids, but they spend their complete 20s fucking around. And now it's actually kind of late when you're in your 30s. Women hitting the wall and all that shit, yeah, it's true. And then now it's like they're not finding guys because guys are going for the younger chicks, right? Now what happens? It's like if they ask the younger chicks to not get married as well, now the guys that want to get married won't have the option to marry the younger chicks. Then the women in their 30s become an option for the guys. Basically, that's the basic fucking thinking they have. And obviously most women will not understand it. I understand that, but I it is my duty to say all of this just so that at least someone hears this, and later on in life when they realize that they fucked up, they can't have the excuse of saying nobody ever told me, because now I did, didn't I? I told you now, so now you can't say nobody told me. I told you. And now it's gonna be like, oh fuck, I fucked up, it's my mistake. Now there's accountability. Now you have no one else to blame other than you. So sad, huh? I don't hold with women taking a man's job. You need to learn your place, my girl. Taking the letter with him, Jenks stamped out of the office. Mr. Bootle, are you going to let him talk to me like that? Jenks is a bad man to cross, Bootle said, shaking his head. I'd advise you to keep your own counsel when dealing with the likes of him. Sighing with frustration, Tilly sat down and fed a clean sheet of paper into the typewriting machine. Working in an office wasn't at all what she had imagined it to be, but she was not going to be beaten by the machine or by a mean-spirited, prejudiced man like Jenks. Barney emerged from his office dressed for outdoors. If anyone wants me, Boodle, I'll be in court observing a case. He paused by Tilly's desk. How are you today, Miss True? Fed up with Mr. Jenks, to tell you the truth. Laughing, Barney patted her on the shoulder. Don't pay any attention to old Jenks. He's been here so long he practically has moss growing out of his ears. He's not used to having a pretty young lady around. As she watched him stroll out of the office, Tilly felt her cheeks burning at the compliment. So easy to please, bro. Even as a feminist, come on. So easy to please. Emily was reckoned to be the good looker in the family. It made her feel all warm and squishy inside to know that Barney thought she was pretty. Because he hasn't seen Emily, you idiot. She caught Boodle staring at her and bent her head over her work. All right, Mr. Boodle, I'm getting on with it. It was raining when Tilly and Boodle left Hayard, steady, drenching rain that had them soaked to the skin before they had even crossed Chancery Lane. By the time they entered the grim interior of Pook's building, Tilly was grateful just to escape from the foul weather and longing to get out of her wet clothes and into the old woolen dressing gown that Susan had loaned her. Mutton stew suddenly seemed the most appetizing of meals, and she could even put up with the Bootle's children's clamor if it meant getting warm again. The noise hit her as soon as Bootle opened the front door, but there was a stranger in the living room, a thin girl with a complexion like sour cream and fair spiky hair that stuck out all round her head in a fair imitation of a dandelion clock. My little Ethel. Bootle dropped his hat and gloves on the floor and held out his arms. What a wonderful surprise! Ethel hurled herself at him along with the 6 younger children, and Boodle disappeared beneath a flailing mass of arms and legs. Now, children, Susan said, waving the wooden spoon at them. Put your poor daddy down and let him get to the fire. Her smile faded when she saw Tilly. Goodness gracious, just look at you, Miss Tilly. You're dripping all over me clean floor. Sorry, Mrs. Boodle. Tilly could, she said, sorry. S hyphen SORRY. Okay, I'm not the one stuttering on my own. I do stutter on my own regardless. But this was not me, basically. Sorry, Mrs. Boodle. Tilly could hardly speak for her teeth chattering. Is raining? And who are you? Ethel demanded, glaring at Tilly. I'm Tilly True. Ethel's white eyebrows met over the middle of her pointed nose. Tilly True, you're the girl what worked for Mrs. Blessed in Barbary Terrace. Wait. Fuck. Tilly's heart lurched against her stays. No, I mean, you're the one what stole her garnet brooch and pointed her with her own riding crop, pointing a finger at Tilly. Ethel turned to her parents. She's a thief and the police are looking for her. It would have been better to change her name, wouldn't it? Something from the first chapter coming to bite her ass in the 5th one. Or the 6th one, because this chapter has ended. This is fucked up now. Yeah, she did run away from there as well, no? Well, she deserves it. I like it. I want more suffering for a feminist, that's all. Sorry. I just do. I am bad like that, yeah. I know. I'm a sadist like that. Sorry. But I have no empathy for feminists. None whatsoever. And on top of that, she's a liar. She's a fucking pathological liar. I don't like it. She deserves suffering. Yeah. I like this. Definitely. Now what's gonna Mr. and Mrs. Bootle do? Let's find out in the next chapter. Bye.